Now that we've fine-tuned the timing of our point animation, let's go ahead and finish it by tweaking our spacing. The scene is timing spacing point work in progress 02. Okay, so again, we have the timing down. All right, this is looking really good. Let's go ahead and tweak the spacing. So what I like to do from here is actually turn off the character set so we can focus on separate controls and the keys that are tied to those controls rather than our keys that are tied to each of our controls tied to that character set. All right, so it's just a way of just now isolating our controls and tweaking their animation even further. All right, so when we get to this step, what we want to consider doing is working on the major parts of the character and then finishing up by tweaking the less noticeable areas. So we'll start with the wrist. I say we can go ahead and add some nice follow through and overlapping to this wrist. So we have something less rigid, something more fluid in the end. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and open up the graph editor, and so we can work with this more conveniently, I'll actually head over to our panel presets. I'll right click on the 4-view panel here, and I'll go ahead and switch this to perspective graph. Okay. All right, from there, we're just going to be animating the rotate Z of the wrist. Hey, that's all we need to worry about here, so I'll go ahead and focus on its F curve, and I'll go ahead and press the F key in the graph editor. All right, so let's say we get to working on the fluidity of this wrist. So as the arm is starting to bend back, let's say we go ahead and have the wrist bend down for follow through. So on frame 4, we'll go there, we'll select the rotate Z axis, and notice how we get the constraint rings showing up. Now this is our gimbal constraint ring. Okay, we can access this by holding down the E key, holding down the left mouse button, and choosing gimbal. Or another way is to simply choose the axis from the channel box. Alright, so once we have that selected, we can now go ahead and on frame 4 rotate that wrist down. And make sure we're doing it this way so that we're only animating in this axis. Alright, if we were to, let's say, move to our rotate tool with it set to local mode, notice as we rotate in its Z-axis, if you take a look at our channel box, we could see all of those values changing, which is not too good because we want to make sure we're animating with the cleanest methods possible. Alright, so if we only need to animate in one axis, let's go ahead and animate in that one axis so that we don't have a clutter of keys to clean up later. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and undo that and go ahead and select the rotate Z axis again. Alright, so we have some follow through where the wrist is rotating down, and now as it rotates up for the anticipation to the point, I'd say we can go ahead and take that key on frame 8 and delay it just one more frame for our overlapping action. Even one frame would suffice. So with the key selected, you can go ahead and hold down Shift, hold down the middle mouse button, and just drag one frame to our right to delay that. And notice what we get. Alright, great. Now to fix the fluidity of our wrist animation, let's go ahead and take that key on frame 12. We'll select the out tangent handle, and we'll middle mouse button and click and drag downward so we can get a better arc. So that we don't get a pause as we would had we have left our tangent handle the way it was before. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and take a look at our animation. We'll hit play. Beautiful. It's really coming together. Alright, so I'd say that's it for the wrist. Let's go ahead and work on our last task, which is going to be the index finger. Okay, so for this, I'd say it looks pretty good, but we can fine tune this some more. Let's say we work on its follow through and overlapping action by taking this key on frame 14 and just delaying it just one more frame down. Alright, so it's delayed from the rest of the hand. And notice what we get, something more realistic. Okay, by adding that slight delay. And now to really bring this animation home, we can add a follow through smear frame. To do this, let's go one more frame, or one frame before our major point pose on frame 15. So we'll go to frame 14, And what we'll do here is really bend this finger back. Let's go to the rotate Z. We'll rotate the index finger back. We'll go to the mid attribute, bend that back, and the N attribute. All right. So by doing this, here's what we end up with. All right, we get this nice little smear follow through out of that index finger. All right, and there are other ways of animating a smear, the actual smear controls that deform our character's mesh, but this is just a quick trick, a quick technique for adding that if you don't have those type of controls. All right, great. So there we have it. We have the point animation fine-tuned, and notice how quickly we're able to do that as well. But what we should take from this is just understanding how important timing and spacing is, and also we've learned a technique for getting our timing down. Again, use rhythm. Go ahead and hum out the beat, making sure that that's down packed, and then from there, go ahead and fine-tune by tweaking out your spacing to get something more entertaining to watch in the end.